Hi, Phil.
We're good. I'm just trying to get the sound up here. We're doing
Okay.
great.
I just was singing the theme song to that girl. Hi, Phil. Phil, Marlo, we can't see Phil. He's getting cut off right above his nose.
Wait a minute. What do we do?
Well, if you can get a pile of books, you can
Wait, yeah, I think we have
raise the thing. Anyway,
okay,
yeah, perfect. And Phil,
there you go.
Okay.
You got him now?
Well, no, it needs to be a little higher. And Phil, move over, you guys, a little to your left.
Away. Can you help us? It's too.
What are we gonna do with these kids?
That is cut off. That is cut off.
If you move the phone a little over, because Phil is being backlit. Phil, you know lighting. You're kind of being backlit by the window.
Right.
So move over to the left a little, Marlo.
Move over more to me, honey.
Do we have
We have a shade there. I can put the shade down.
Okay. Anyway, hi everybody. I'm excited to see you. Hi, Phil.
How you doing, Katie?
I'm good. You look great.
Well, so do you, girl.
Not really.
He is more handsome now than he was when
Don't you love this? I mean, this is, everybody gets to see how the sausage gets made on Instagram Live.
Well, here we are. I read your newspaper every day.
My newsletter?
Yeah. I really like it because I stopped touching the newspaper. So when I stop touching the newspaper, I have to read the New York Times online. I read Graydon Carter's airmail.
Yeah.
And I read yours. And I got all the
Marlo.
I need. Yeah. I'm really enjoying it.
Thank you. Well, we've got a great team who works on it really hard. And we have actually four young women who are all putting it together every day. And of course, I edit it and send them suggestions, but they're doing a terrific job.
No, it's fun. I'm enjoying it. There's a lot of white space I don't understand. But other than that.
Anyway, listen, it's not an easy time to have a book come out, but if anybody can get the word out, it's you two, Marlo and Phil.
Oh, with your help, Katie.
We've been doing a lot of it. It's interesting because instead of the usual book tour where you have to go in and out of airports and traveling all the time, we're doing everything from home. We're in our kitchen today. This is our Instagram position.
Amazing.
In the living room, we have our Zoom area. So we have an area for each thing.
Well,
and we have all this natural light in our apartment, so we never have to use any. We don't have any technicians anyway, so it's all us.
Well, you both look fantastic, and I'm excited to talk to you about your new book because I feel like Marlo, you guys are so clever because you take. I know that I wrote an essay for one of your books about words that matter. What was the name of that?
The right words at the right time.
Yeah. And I remember you were inspired to do that because of your dad.
Right.
When you were disappointed, your dad, Danny Thomas, said something to you about blinders.
Well, everybody always compared me to him when I was only like 17 years old as an actress. And I went to him and said, I'm going to change my name. I don't want to be a Thomas anymore. And he said, I raised you to be a thoroughbred. And thoroughbreds run their own races. They just wear their blinders and they just run. And they don't look at any of the other horses. And that was the best advice I ever got. And I kept my last name, obviously. But I tried not to look at the other horses. And it's really important in life not to compare yourself to what other people are doing. So
yeah, and that's harder and harder these days, as you know. I think Emerson says comparison is the thief of joy. And I feel like we live in a society with social media, honestly, the bad parts of it, where we're constantly looking at what other people are doing, how other people look, who other people know. And it really conspires, I think, to make us not feel great about ourselves. But I love this book. First of all, I want to say happy anniversary, you two.
Thank you. Thank you. 40.
Thank you.
40 years. Awesome. That's so wonderful. How did you celebrate, Phil?
Well,
Well, I did the laundry.
We celebrated at home like every other day. We've been self-quarantined for 2 months. And usually on our anniversary, we take a trip because we always thought that that was the best gift we could give each other is time. So we'd get away from everything, work, phone calls, kids, life, and we'd take off for Indonesia or Barbados or something. So this year we just walked around the kitchen and we made some spaghetti sauce.
That sounds fun and romantic. Well, listen, so the reason why I was excited to talk to you is you've got this new book out called What Makes a Marriage Last. And I'm curious, before we talk about some of the couples you interviewed, I think it's a brilliant idea, by the way, that you did this. And, are you guys is it difficult because you've been in quarantine, you've been by yourselves inside the house, without a lot of other people to talk to, except for this way, technologically. Are you driving each other crazy?
We're embarrassed to say we've enjoyed it.
No, don't be embarrassed.
I know a lot of people are having a rough time, and also, God forbid, the people who are sick and are dying. I mean, it's not a time for us to be congratulating ourselves on our joy. But we've never spent this much time together except on vacation. So this is the first time we've ever had 3 meals a day together. We're here, and he'll say to me, all right, I'll make the bacon if you'll make the French toast, or I'll make so we make our, and then we go do our thing, and then we make our lunch, and then we make our dinner, and we've never done that. That's just a real new thing for us. And it's been good because we're talking, and you said that you thought it really had helped our marriage to be stuck in here.
Yeah. Your father was Danny Thomas.
How has it, Phil, how do you think it's helped your marriage?
Well, I think believe it or not, I think I know her a little better now.
Really?
I've been watching her. I never had that opportunity before. And I've discovered that she is, first of all, a water bug. She can do a right turn, then up and then down. I am impressed with how much she can do at the same time.
She's a good multitasker.
I really am. And I think before this, it annoyed him. He'd say to me, well, you sit down, or where are you going? Why are you going to another meeting? What are you doing? Where are you running to? But now that he sees it as a piece of a whole, he gets my MO a little bit more. Yeah. And I was surprised, actually, when he said that to me. He said, you're like a little water.
Really?
I was surprised, yeah. After 40 years, he realizes I'm a multitasker. And for me, it's been good because Phil's so laid back. And I'm always trying to, make him be at the same energy that I am, which is not possible. You and I have very much the same.
Oh, Marlo, we're having some technical difficulties. Yeah, wait, sorry. We're having some technical difficulties. Sorry. You just broke up. It could be us. I don't think it's you.
1, 2, 3. How's this? 1, 2, 3, 4.
She's frozen now.
Yeah, she is.
She's frozen.
There we go. I think it's better now. It's better now. Is it better?
Yeah.
Okay. It just kind of goes in and out. Well, tell us about some of the people that you interviewed for this book, because it's a real who's who of couples, and I love the diversity. Who did you talk to?
How did we choose them? Did you say? We talked. Well, the exciting thing about this is that Phil and I went out all over the country and personally spoke to each couple. And when we went out, at first we were thinking we were going out as reporters. And Phil said to me, I don't want to talk about our marriage. And I said, okay. After 40 years, I don't beg him to do anything. I said, okay. But once we sat down, it was like a double date. It was the two of us and another husband and wife sitting across the table. They would put out all kinds of things to nosh on and a bottle of wine. And we would start talking, and it just rolled. I mean, we never had real...
Nothing lasted less than an hour and a half.
3 hours almost.
Well, okay.
Yeah. And I think the reason that they're so chock full of information, they were supposed to be 2,500 words apiece. And the book was 350 pages. It's over 600 pages, and they're all about 5,000 words.
Wow.
And so not really like magazine pieces. They're like real essays.
Uh-huh.
And people, well, you were surprised how much they told us.
Yeah. I noticed that when we started to talk about ourselves, then the big wheel started to turn.
Right.
And the people with whom we were talking began to open up and tell us, some really intimate, interesting things about their own marriage.
Infidelity, drug addiction, alcoholism. I mean, it was fascinating.
And couples therapy. Some of them talked about going to couples therapy.
Are in therapy. Ron Howard and Cheryl Howard. And you know what they do? When they're having an argument, they stop and they tape it. They tape the argument, and Ron Howard said, "It's amazing how civil you get when it's going to be recorded." And,
That's funny.
I know. And then 2 minutes apiece each person gets, and then they listen to it afterward. And he said it's so different from what you think happened, because he said, "I will think that Cheryl's been talking. She dominated the conversation, and then when I play it back, she didn't at all. It was even." He said, "So it's really good to hear what the issue is without the drama that you would have if you weren't recording it." And I also like what Bryan Cranston said. He's married to Robin Dearden, and he said that if you have a warning signal in your car, you don't pull over and get under the hood and try to fix it. You take it to an expert. He said, "Well, why wouldn't you do that when you have a warning sign in your marriage? Go to an expert, and not as a referee, but as an interpreter, because you really need somebody who's going to say, well, this is what Katie meant by that. That's not what you thought she meant." And that's useful. And we've kind of been doing that with each other, being our own therapists, but saying, "Did you know really what I meant when I said that? I mean, I have a feeling you didn't get that."
Who said "I love you" every night?
Bob Woodward. Bob Woodward, this is his third marriage.
Elsa, right?
Yeah. And you know who else is on their third marriage is Ted Danson. So, and both of those marriages are 30 years in. So they had 2 unsuccessful marriages, and now their third marriage is a 30-year marriage.
Is a charm. He's married to Mary Steenburgen, right?
Right.
I love her.
I do too. I love them both. They're a terrific couple. One of the things that every time we left one of these couples, we'd say, they're really good together. I can see why that works. They really like each other. And I think you said the other thing you said is about the seriousness of it.
Yeah, you can tell the people who have the longer marriage, they're serious about the marriage. It's not, they're not living on the cloud of lust from the wedding.
Right.
They are anticipating life as it comes. And they're not surprised.
And they want to keep it together.
Right.
Every which way, whether it's therapy, whether it's taking off time to be on their own, they don't look for an exit. That to me was the biggest takeaway I had, is that none of these people ran away from the struggle. No couple knows what's going to be thrown at them. You can have a death of a child, you can have infidelity, you can have drug addiction. Couric, Sedgwick, and Kevin Bacon lost all their money to Bernie Madoff, every cent they'd ever saved for 30 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah, terrible stuff. And Jesse Jackson wandered and had a baby with another woman. So she had to take him back for that. So there's a lot. And Michael J. Fox and Tracy Pollan, within 3 years of their marriage, had a diagnosis that would last a lifetime. And none of these people ran from it. As Kira Sedgwick said, I thought so beautifully, she said, there can be no plan B when you get married. And that's what these people, they didn't run for the exit sign. And I started to think maybe the reason people run away from a marriage is they're afraid. They don't know what to do. It's overwhelming to them that almost find out that their spouse is an alcoholic, or Jamie Lee Curtis was a drug addict. Chris Guest didn't know she was a drug addict. So
who said it's more complicated to break
Elsa Walsh said, why do people have such a need for disruption? If you took all the energy you put into breaking up your marriage and divvying up everything. If you put all that energy back into making the marriage work, you could do it, but you don't take that energy. And I got to believe, as we talk to these people, that the people have a fear that they can't get through it, that they can't go through the fire with their spouse, and so they run away.
Or maybe they don't want to be the one that gets hurt. You know, I think people are afraid of being rejected or wounded. And so they kind of get to the place where they want to be the person who ends it instead of someone walking out on them. I think that's a kind of preemptive protection in some ways. What do I know? I have no idea.
No, read the book. No, you get to see it the way they go through the fire. You know, Jesse Jackson's wife, Jackie, said,
"It belongs to me."
Oh yeah, but she said, "This marriage is a test of my character." That she felt that it was her character that kept that marriage together. She could have said, "Well, the hell with you. You're going to cheat on me and have a baby with another woman." I said, "Did you think you'd throw him out?" She said, "No, he belongs to."
She calls him Reverend. So, and when someone asks her how many children she has, she says, or they have, she said, "Well, I have 5. The Reverend has 6.
So, you know.
I mean, people deal with this kind of thing in many different ways.
She said an interesting thing too. She said, if a woman wants the marriage to continue, it will continue. If a woman thinks it's over, it's done. Which I thought was really kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And, you know, it in a way, when you think about other couples you know that have split up, you can kind of see that. If the woman didn't really, because a lot of guys don't know how to get to their feelings. As Phil has often said, you said one time that women lead men to their feelings.
Well, did I? Hope I said that. That's
what about, I was going to ask you guys about a sense of humor and laughing, because I feel like, was that something that you noticed in a lot of these couples? You said they liked each other, but did they also just like to have fun and laugh?
Yeah.
Because I think that's so important.
Long way.
Yeah. Well, and what's his name? Ben Falcone and Melissa McCarthy, they're very funny. When she's in a bad mood, he moons her. She'll turn around and there he'll be with his pants dropped.
Oh.
So how people
does that get old?
Yeah, she said, I don't know how they get through life. He also said this, he doesn't believe this stuff about not going to bed mad. He said, I go to bed intentionally pissed off because I know it'll be gone in the morning. And that's really, really true. We all just take too much energy to try to iron out every little thing, and some stuff just can't get resolved. Tell Katie what Carville, James Carville said.
Carville's wisdom is embodied in a cliche. He says that when you find yourself arguing about a Mickey Mouse issue, you know, around and around, it helps if one of you says, let's kick that can down the road. Now, he also acknowledges that along his marital road, there's a lot of piles of cans.
But you know, when we came off the road of this book, and we were arguing about one of those stupid things like, well, you said you'd put it there, but you didn't, but I said you put it here, or you did, whatever the hell it is. We're going around and around and around. And at one point, Phil looked at me and he said, oh, let's just kick this can down the road. It's so liberating. It was like, great, the hell with it. This is so stupid. Why are we even doing this, you know? I mean, it's not going to break us up. It isn't going to turn into anything bigger. It's just dumb. And that's helped a lot. That's really helped us, I think, going through this, is to see how strong our marriage is and how strong all those marriages were just by really wanting it to be and to get through each thing. Well, Judy Viors, you know, the writer, she's a wonderful writer, Judith Viors, she said,
oh, I love her.
I love her. And she said, look, no matter how hard you try, he's never going to be you and you're never going to be him. So just accept that and start accepting the differences. Because, you know, we think that we're going to be changing people,
right.
But we don't.
And it's nice to know that when the relationship begins.
Right. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, you know, too many of us do invest too much in the other person. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just not always in their best interest to agree with me or with the husband, or works both ways. And I think if you anticipate the fact that no marriage begins smoothly and continues forever smoothly, life has its surprises.
Well, life doesn't go smoothly. Life has its bumps and ups and downs. And you need somebody there that who'll boost you up. I mean, I talk a lot, as you can tell. But when we go out to a party or something, and I'll say to Phil when we come home, oh God, I shouldn't have said that. I really think I hurt Katie's feelings, or I really don't think. And he'll say to me, oh, don't be rude. She loved it. She thinks you're adorable. He never lets me wallow in, my neurosis of I shouldn't have said this, I shouldn't have said that. And that's really great to have somebody pick you up when you're feeling, bad about yourself. And Michael J. Fox said, there are some days when I just hit a wall and I can't get over it. He said, but I need somebody to boost me up over the wall. He said, it's always Tracy. She's always boosting me up over the wall. And I think that's what everybody's looking for. Whether we interviewed same-sex marriage, opposite-sex marriage, Baptist, Muslim, Christian, Jews, black, white, brown. Everybody wants the same thing. They want a safe place. They want somebody that's got their back, somebody they can love and cuddle with.
And when we leave a party and close the door, she'll always say, why did you say that?
I don't know.
Hey, I wanted to know one thing, I think it's important that one part of the couple is conciliatory. My late husband was very conciliatory. I feel like John and I are both kind of stubborn, and it's really helpful if you have one person who says, who is the first to say, I'm sorry, or let's talk about it. And I've tried to be much better than I used to be, because I kind of get mad and I pout and I hold a grudge and I'm kind of inflexible. That must be an important component too among these couples, was it?
Yeah, it was. How do you come back from a fight was one of the big things. And some people are there's always one person. Who's the one person in our marriage usually?
Well, I pout, and I'm not proud of that. But so
are you a pouter, Phil?
Yeah, and that doesn't contribute to reconciliation.
But I have a very short attention span for tension. I can't handle it. I don't want it. So I'll say, oh, come on, let's talk about it. Let's have some popcorn. Let's talk it out. I'm always trying to move it along. Because they're never big. I mean, what you're mad at John at, or he's mad at you, or whatever it is, it's always some stupid thing. And he's Irish. I think the Irish do that. I'm Italian and Lebanese. I mean, we put everything out on the table right away, But I've learned a lot from this book, talking to people, that a lot of stuff, it's okay to have it be unresolved. As Judith said, you're never going to be John, and he's never going to be you. You're always going to be different. So you're going to have to just say, okay, he's that one, and it's not me. And I wish it was more of me, but it isn't. And Viola Davis said that your marriage doesn't start when you walk down the aisle. Your marriage starts when you're sitting across your spouse at a breakfast table and he or she does some disgusting thing that you think, oh God, I am not going to be able to stand this forever. That's when your marriage starts, when you realize that you are going to have to stand this forever.
You guys, you keep name dropping in the most delightful way, because you talk to so many people. But right. I know that you guys sort of wanted to talk to George and Laura Bush and to Michelle and Barack Obama, and right. they very sweetly turned you down.
Right. Well, Laura was in the book that you were in, the Right Words book.
Right.
So I thought she'd do it. But some people don't want to talk about their marriage, and I appreciate that. We never have before. In fact, when we started to do this book, Phil said to me, I'll do it, but I'm not talking about our marriage. And I said, okay. But we ended up because there was no way not to. And he opened up slower than I did, but we didn't. I mean, we didn't take all the, the skeletons out of the closet, but we talked about what was relevant about fighting and about our parents' marriage and about how we were affected when we met each other and stuff like that. Michelle Obama was lovely. She tweeted about us the other day on our anniversary. Yeah. Yeah. She was darling. She's a lovely woman. She's come to St. Jude. She's been very good to us, as you have. You've been very great to St. Jude.
Well, remember, I'll never forget, Phil. Marlo came to see me when I was anchoring the Today Show and said, can you do this campaign called Thanks and Giving for us for St. Jude's? And I was like, Marlo, of course. And remember, that's how we started it.
Well, not only that, but my audacious ask was every day, 5 days a week for Thanksgiving. And I already had that I'd settle for 3. And you said, okay, we can do that. I was like, I couldn't believe your generosity. And after you said that, they never change it. It was the Katie Couric rule.
Well, St. Jude's is such an incredible place, Marlo. You've done so much. I mean, you both have hearts as big as Manhattan. You've given so much back to the world, and I love you both. And
thank you.
One, I have a really nice follower who follows me, and I think her husband died after 40 years, and I'm curious, maybe you could give some advice. I could probably too. But, I think that people want to find love after loss. And I wondered if any of the couples you met had someone, if someone lost their spouse and remarried, or did you talk to any widows or widowers who remarried?
No, no. Now that you're mentioning that, I realize nobody in the book, although many were married more than once, twice, and 3 times, I don't think anybody lost a spouse.
Yeah.
Probably would have the best advice for that.
I mean, I always say you have to be very intentional. If you want a life partner, you have to treat it like you're looking for a job. You have to really, people don't meet magically in a bookstore, going over, looking at the latest novels. They meet through a network. And I think I always had a really good attitude about dating. I always thought, even if it's not a love connection, even if it's not, we don't have chemistry, I can meet someone and, oh, that's my friend who asked about this. And I can meet someone and I can learn something from that person. My life can be enriched in other ways, even if that person isn't an appropriate partner for me. So I really encourage people, and I just set up a couple. I'm so proud of myself. I set up a friend of mine who was in my brother-in-law's wedding. He was my brother-in-law's best man. My sister Emily, I think you both know, passed away shortly after my husband died. It was terrible. But anyway, I set him up with a friend of mine, and they really like each other.
Oh, great.
I'm a very good setter-upper. I like to do that. It makes me so happy when people find each other.
Great.
So that's my advice. What is your advice for finding love again? Because, some people do meet later in life.
Yes, they do.
Well, I got married at 42, so it certainly was later than most people. And I think there's a lot about being with somebody to celebrate them. I think that's something that you can bring to a friendship that can turn into something better and deeper. I think most things start with friendship. Well, they start with lust, but they also start with friendship.
And sometimes friendship grows into lust, right?
Exactly.
Yes, it does.
Exactly, it does. And one of the couples that I was interested in this point of view was Allie Wentworth and George Sinopoulos. I would have never fixed them up. They are completely from 2 different worlds. She is such a wild spirit. She's Earth Mother. She's divine.
So funny.
Oh, she's funny, and she's just free as a bird. And he's all buttoned up, Mr. Rhodes Scholar, Mr. Serious. I would have never in a million years put them together. But one of the things I loved about her and what she does, she was talking about when George's contract was renewed, she and her daughters made a cake and put M&Ms on it. They celebrated that. And I think one of the things that people don't do enough with each other is celebrate. Celebrate the good times. And I think if you bring that even when you start dating somebody, you start celebrating them in a way that feels natural to you. But that, if you have that appreciation of someone, it makes them feel good, and it's also good for you too. I love to celebrate Phil and his whatever it is he's doing. I really do. We've given each other so many surprise birthday parties that people can't believe that we're still surprised. I'm always surprised.
That's so nice, though. That's so sweet.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Someone asked me to ask about Mary Rose, and I'm not quite sure why. I wonder if they're talking about Mary Rose, who I knew from Atlanta, who was a local TV anchor.
Mary Rose is my only daughter.
Oh, sorry. A different Mary Rose. Do you know the Mary Rose I was talking about, Phil?
Well, your question was?
Well, the other Mary Rose used to be married to Charlie Rose, but that's a different Mary Rose. So tell us about your Mary Rose.
Mary Rose Donahue, who's Phil's daughter, who lives in Albuquerque and with her mom, near her mom. And when I met Phil, he was raising his 4 sons, and they were living with him. And his one daughter lived with her mother, which I always hoped she had lived with us, because I had all these men and no other woman in the house. But she's a terrific young woman, and his kids are all his boys are very much like him. I mean, it was quite a big deal for me to marry into a family with all these children when I had never been married before and only had 2 dogs. I mean, it was. Tell
her what your mother said.
Oh yeah, when I told my mother that I'd fallen in love with a man with 5 children, she said, "Oh, what a joke on you."
And you guys met on the Phil Donahue show, and
yeah.
It was love at first sight, right?
It really was. He said he fell in love with me in the green room.
Well, I knew immediately that she was an impure thought. You have to be Catholic to understand that. And I watched her as she walked ahead of me to the studio for the show. So, I began the relationship with more than a passing interest in this lovely woman, who was a perfect guest because she was current, political, active in the women's movement.
Sharp as a tack.
Yeah, one of those metaphors.
Well, he said later that when he walked in and he saw my eyes and my smile and all this, that he was smitten. And I said, well, when I saw your killer blue eyes and that white hair, it was like a shampoo commercial. Everything got real slow.
Who wouldn't want to marry a shampoo commercial?
So we did. Then he asked me out, and that was it. It was, It's pretty. We had a pretty easy love story in a way, except for the fact we were commuter marriage and all. One of the things that I find interesting about today's marriages is that we really can define our own marriage. When we got together, we got married. I was in LA producing. I produced about 12 movies in just a couple of years. Some I was in, and some other women were in. And he was in Chicago doing his show daily and raising 4 boys. So we were married, and we were going back and forth like maniacs to be together. He'd bring the boys to LA. I'd go there. And an aunt of mine said, that's not a marriage, because we were not living together yet. And I said, this is why I didn't get married all those years, because I thought the definition of marriage was a very, sort of constipated one. It had to be just this particular way. Once I realized you could be roomy, and I think, and it could encompass 2 big careers and 2 big lives and 2 bossy people, that it was possible. And I think that's a very important point to make to young people, that you can define your own marriage. Don't look at your mother's, father's, or anybody else's. however you can put it together, if you love each other, it'll work out. You know, we for 5 years commuted until, you know, Phil moved his show to New York and I moved myself to New York and we made a life here. But I think that's one of the things that scares people. I know it's what scared me.
Yeah.
I didn't like the model. The model
Right.
just didn't work, you know? And you got to make your own model. And that's a really important uh, feature. And I think with a lot of these couples, they created their own model. Alan Alda, for example, flew back and forth every weekend on MASH. So
I
that
know.
his
Did you interview Alan for the book? Alan and his
Alan and
Arlene?
oh yeah, they're married 63 years.
They're awesome, aren't they?
Right.
They really are.
But can you imagine flying from Hollywood to New Jersey every
Friday night
night?
for 11 years.
Wow.
Because he respected his wife and children who wanted to stay in New Jersey, and they respected him to have this job. And so they made a life out of that.
And I think that's another point. Compromise is super
Mhm.
important too. That
Right.
you know, you have to give a little, and you can't have it your way all the time. And you know, you have to make accommodations, knowing that your partner will then make some accommodations for you in the future.
Yeah, generosity does beget generosity. The more you say, okay, you know what, this means more to you than it doesn't mean to me, so I'm going to do it for you.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get your book for my daughter because you know she was supposed to get married on the 4th of July,
Oh,
and
wow.
we had to postpone the wedding. We were so disappointed, but in the grand scheme of things, there are a lot of people who are really suffering and going through very, very difficult circumstances. So Ellie and Mark, they were great sports about it, but I think it would be helpful for them to read this book before they get married so they can get some wisdom from some of these wonderful couples and of course from you guys.
We'll send them one. We'll send them one.
Oh, you should sign it. That would be so
Yeah.
cute. And in the meantime, Phil, I'm going to call you because I'm writing my book. And right now I've been writing about the war in Iraq and about sort of how the media handled that. And I was reminded that your position, and you were proved to be right, that it actually, you experienced some pretty severe consequences for objecting and challenging and questioning the rationale for the Iraq war. And God, you were, as I said, you were right. And yet, I'd love to talk to you about it.
Yeah, he was fired for it. I'll never forget it.
No.
They told him to stop, and he wouldn't, and they fired him. I couldn't get over it. It's America, you know.
You know, you got Marlo got the Medal of Freedom from Barack Obama, and of course I was invited. So
you were the plus one.
Well, and I tried to stay small, and I got a nice handshake from the president. I thought I got a nice hug from Michelle.
Oh, she's adorable. She's a hugger. You got a
Yeah,
big
but
hug from
I
Biden.
mean,
You got a big hug from Biden. Biden is such a hugger.
He is a hugger, yeah.
So tell your story.
And we're walking out, and they have, I'm sure you've seen this, they have a maroon velvet rope which contains media. This
Cages.
is
Right, yeah.
media behind the rope where they can take their picture right there, whatever it is. And as I walked out, after having behaved perfectly, one of the media guys in the front row at the corner of the rope leaned over and said, "You're the only one that got it right." And I thought, wow.
That meant so much to Phil.
You have no idea what that meant.
He said, "This was my Medal of Freedom today." He said to have somebody acknowledge that, because he really took a beating about it.
I know, and I had forgotten a little bit. I know you hadn't, Phil, but as I was researching, because I went to Iraq and I interviewed General Petraeus, and I was obviously part of the coverage, and I was like, damn, that's right. Phil was fired, and he was the one that actually got it right. And ironically, from MSNBC of all places.
Well, now they're liberal, but they weren't liberal then. Chris Matthews was for the war for a while.
Oh, a lot of people supported it.
So he was the only one on MSNBC that was against the war. And I was so proud of him. And, you know, it's interesting. Phil's career was in syndication. So when I first met him, he said to me, I have the best job in television. I said, why? He said, well, I have 220 stations. And if they don't like it in, you know, Kentucky, they don't have to play it, you know, that day. But, you know.
Or you could go to another station.
Yeah,
right.
But now, I mean, once you get on the network, as you have always, and I have, that was a new experience.
Yeah, one man, when he's shaving, can end your career.
Right,
yeah, no, it's true. Like, right, the
Very-
GM
very
doesn't. The GM doesn't like your shirt or something.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Then we've had. Then we're network babies, and he's a syndicate baby. That's a completely different
well,
field.
I think Phil is a legend, and he had so much courage in tackling so many difficult topics that really needed exploring before anybody did. And I was watching Mrs. America, Phil, when and they did, when you had Phyllis Schlafly on your show, and she was debating, who was she debating on the show?
I don't think she was debating anybody. She was on by herself talking about the ERA. Nobody would go on with her.
Oh, that's right. You wanted someone to debate her, but I don't think she would do it, or something happened.
None of us, none of the feminists would go on. He asked all of them. And
here's a leading feminist sleeps with me, and I'm putting Phyllis Schlafly on my program.
The interesting thing about that was Bella. I didn't know it because obviously he doesn't, you know, run past his guests to me, right? So Bella Abzo calls me. She says, "Do you know that your husband is putting on Phyllis Schlafly the week of the vote in Illinois?" And we had been struggling for Illinois, Georgia, or Florida to get that one last state. So anyway, so I said to Phil, I went to Phil and I said, "You're putting on Phyllis Schlafly the week of the vote in Illinois? How can you do this when you know how hard we've all worked?" And he said to me, "If you don't know why I have to put Phyllis Schlafly on the week of the vote, then you don't understand what I do." And man, that was such an awakening for me as a wife, as a woman, as a person, to know that I guess I didn't realize that what he had to do was what was absolutely going on in the country. He couldn't do what was good for the feminists. He couldn't do what was good for the ERA or for his wife. He said, "You don't understand what I do." It was a real turning point. And from that, in our careers, because then when anybody would call me for anything, I would say, "I don't book the Donahue Show. I don't write the Donahue Show. I don't get your book on the Donahue Show." You know, because everybody, as you know, calls and says, "Could you get your husband to put my book on?" You know.
Yeah.
I said, "I'm out of this business. I don't do this anymore."
Well, I mean, and then I'll let you go, but I was, you know, I wanted to go back and actually Google the real Donahue Show with Phyllis Schlafly after I watched Mrs. America, but I guess I didn't give Phyllis Schlafly enough credit because she was quite a brilliant woman, wasn't she, Phil?
Well, she was certainly historic and fearless. She jumped in, you know, I assume she was sincere. I'm not.
Oh, she was a hypocrite. She was a terrible hypocrite. She was telling women, "Stay home and take care of your children and bake for your husband." And she's out running for office. She ran for office 3 times and lost. I mean, just say the truth. Tell who you are. But to tell other women to stay home while you go out and try to be somebody, that's what I did not like about it.
I guess I was just, and maybe I don't know if Mrs. America was an accurate portrayal, but it seems like she was thwarted in her ambition to really, you know, get out there. So she channeled it into organizing against the ERA, which of course, you know, something that I would never agree with. But I just thought it made her seem frustrated but highly intelligent. And when she couldn't kind of, I think in a more, because she lived in such a time, a traditional time for women, she pivoted and kind of used her ambition to work against women. I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. But hypocritical.
Yeah.
I'm not giving up on that.
No.
I'm not pouting about it. I'm just being clear.
Anyway, I am so happy to talk to you guys.
Thank you.
You're such a joy to talk to. I've missed seeing you in these kind of crazy times, but maybe we can have a socially distant cocktail when things calm down.
Yeah. Well, you know I'm crazy about John. I just think he's
yeah, he's great, isn't he?
How many years married are you now?
This June, on June 21st, we'll have been married 6 years.
Good.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe 7 because I was starting to. I'm kidding. But no, 6 years, and he's wonderful, and he loves you guys too. I think he's really enjoyed getting to know you. So hopefully we'll get to see each other soon. And I want to say the name of the book again because it's called "What Makes a Good Marriage."
What makes a marriage last?
Well, that was close. What makes a marriage last? And it is star-studded, full of really thoughtful, smart, fascinating people from all walks of life, including you did Lily Tomlin and Jane Wagner and, you know, all kinds of fascinating people. And I really think that people could get a lot out of it, and maybe it'll make their marriages stronger as a result.
Well, it's helped us. It really has.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, love you guys. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you, sweet girl.
Okay. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Katie.
Bye.